Lynn, for reminding me. I think I'm a little groggy today or something. I think it's the weather. So there's my photograph. And here's my painting. So what I noticed.
Beautiful.
What I noticed when I, try and make this a little, after I did this painting, like when I was doing this painting, it felt like I was going so dark, you know, because there's a lot of really deep, dark tones in the foreground and in the trees and in the sand. And I got really, really, really dark. But even so, look how much lighter the value is than the photograph. So, you know, I just don't think that you can go too dark in watercolor. I really don't. And because of the luminosity of the medium, it just tends to stay kind of light and ethereal. So I think it just takes more of a conscious effort to really give it the darkness that is going to make it be potent.
Especially this is sunset, which is dusk, which is darkening.
Right, right. It's going from the light
That's
to the dark.
flavor.
It's just the last bit of light and we're going into the dark.
So I have a question. I really love the way you do this. You simplify it and you get the shapes in there.
Right.
And I like it both because I like the look of it and it feels like it's more manageable to do for me. And
Right.
is there anything more you can say about how to go about that? Because I noticed obviously you've added some of your own, like on the bottom corner, you've got more of a foam coming in than on the picture, but you know.
Well, you know, I am going to show the video of how I did this, but when I drew this out, you know, I drew the horizon line because the drawing doesn't show through in the video. In class, I show the drawing, but I don't do that here because it's too hard to see the pencil. But I start with the horizon line, and I actually measured, you know, this, you kind of want to stay away from plopping it right dead center, but this one kind of is dead center. The horizon's kind of dead center, and the sun is dead center. But I did measure this out, and it's slightly wider at the bottom. So you can see, I pushed that just a tiny bit more. I measured my paper. You see how my horizon line is up here a little higher? To just put it slightly off center, but the sun is center, but I have this land over here breaking it up. So I draw my horizon line. I draw the outline of this tree shape. I draw the outline of this land in the distance. I drew this area of the white yellow out. I drew the round shape in here. And then I drew this edge. I actually drew these two areas of foam. And then I drew a line for this distinction between the beach and the wet sand here. So that's the first thing you want to do, is to try to look at this and simplify the shapes. Just see each shape without getting into all the detail of the different waves or the different ripples, or, you know, or even in the sky, the different color changes. You just want to basically break it down into the simple shapes. And then you'll start painting it, and I'll go ahead and bring the video up, and hopefully it will help you see the process for that. So can everyone see this video okay?
Yes.
Okay.
So Carissa,
looks like you use one palette for cool colors and one for warm. Is
Yeah,
that-
and I do that. And so when you're painting, especially sunsets, you don't really want your cools and your warms to blend too much because you don't want the mud. There's no mud. The thing about sunsets that is so appealing is their bright, pure colors. And you don't want, like we did a lot of mixing in our previous landscapes. By the way, I am mixing my blues here. I'm getting just the right blue for the upper part of the sky. And I'm mixing in some of the cool phthalo with my ultramarine and my cobalt. So I'm mixing 3 blues. And I mix, test, mix, test, mix, test to get the right color. But if you keep your blues and your reds and oranges separate from each other, you will be able to keep that clarity of color. And it's, you know, it's important to get the right shade. So whatever it takes to keep mixing. You'll notice too that in my cool palette, I do have a separate yellow, a couple of separate yellows. That's for my greens, because again, if I bring any blue over to my yellows in the warm palette, it's gonna taint any efforts at orange. So here I am getting just the right shade of blue, and I'm holding it up to the painting, you know, to see if my match is good. And you want to make sure that you have enough in your puddle to do your area. Now, since this is a smaller piece, it's an 11 by 14, I'm not going to wet my paper first for the sky, but if you feel more comfortable doing so, you can. Also, you'll notice I've got a different water bottle. I've got a water container for my warms and a water container for my cools, and I'm even using a different brush here. I'm going to start at the bottom, and I'm going to put that, and I'm painting around the drawn out, really light yellow shape where the sun is going down. And I'm putting in the golden yellow around it. I'm starting with that. And so for that color, I mixed together a lemon yellow and I didn't see what I put into it. Actually, this is looking like, I guess I'm just starting with regular lemon yellow, because when I add my red, it's, you'll see that I go in and add more colors to this as I go. But I'm starting with the yellows. And over on the left there where I put in the yellow, I left some gaps because the yellow doesn't continue through. There's kind of splashes of the yellow along the bottom of the sky. Now this is a good color. It's quinacridone rose. Any color that has the word rose in it is going to be a really good, like a primary. It's going to be a really good primary red that's going to help you get bright oranges and bright purples if you mix it to the yellow and the blue. So I'm adding it here to my yellow, and my yellow is still wet, so it's blending. And also the quinacridone, all the quinacridone colors tend to be pretty bright and vibrant. So that combo of the quinacridone rose is a real winner. It's a very, very beautiful color.
So Carissa, the only wet now is just from the wet on your brush, correct?
Right.
Okay.
Yep. I didn't wet the paper at all for this painting beforehand. I just went right in with the brush and the color. And you know, the important thing is when you're doing a blend like this in a sunset is you don't want any of the areas to dry or you get a hard edge. Like I can see on that upper right of the pink, that's starting to look a little dry. I better get over there soon. There. And get it with the brush. Like you need to keep your brush moving. And that's why it's good to, you can either start at the bottom and work your way up or start at the top and work your way down. Most artists start at the top and work your way down. I wanted to start at the bottom because first of all, there's just, well, mainly because if I started with my blue and worked my way down, it would be really easy to overwhelm those warm colors. You know, the blue is stronger and it's going to take over. And I really wanted to get all my warm colors established in their areas before I added the blue. And over to the side there, you know, I'm adding some water here for the lights. Remember, anytime you want to change your value from a darker to a lighter, you're going to add water. And I'm going in, I wanted that yellow to dry a little bit to keep its form. And now I'm dropping in my pink along the very bottom where the sun's hitting the land. If you do it too quickly, the yellow will just all get canceled out. So, now I'm getting more yellow because, you know, even so, some of my yellow got a little overtaken by the quin. So I went in and added a little more yellow. And see, I'm having to, this is starting to dry. It's like, oh, I need to keep this going.
Carissa, is that a number 8 brush also?
Yeah, that's my number 8. You'll notice I have a different brush for the blue over there that I'm keeping separate. It's a bigger brush. But for this one with more of the color changes, I'm wanting to use my smaller brush. So here I am going back in. I'm starting to get a bloom there, which I don't really want too much bloom. There is some bloom in this painting, but I don't want it to get too carried away. Now I'm going into my blue. And I'm going to start at the top because it's darker at the top. So I'm getting my really saturated, heavily pigmented puddle of color and just doing a strip across the top. You'll see how, look how I go here. I'm still dipping into my blues because I want to keep that color consistently dense at the top. Then I'm getting my 8 and I'm wetting this pink. And I'm gonna start moving it up into the blue a little bit. And now you can see the colors blending together. Now here I dipped into more of my cobalt. I have a little lighter of a puddle of blue up there that I used for these lower parts. Because the blue itself kind of changes tone.
So Carissa, I noticed that the tree on the right, you leave it white. You don't just paint the sky and then paint the dark over it. Would it have changed the tone of the tree?
It would. It would. Yeah, and you'd have a hard edge. I mean, it would be subtle. It wouldn't be that noticeable because it's such a small shape, but it's super easy for me to just paint around that tree and go along the edge. Okay, so now I'm gonna go back in. the blue is pretty dark, and I want to get rid of that bloom, and I also want to strengthen my pinks a little bit. So I'm going to go back in with the Quin Rose, and I'm going to pull it into that blue a bit and strengthen the color on the outer edge.
Okay, Carissa, what is a bloom?
A bloom is, if you can see my cursor, see this area of texture over here in the painting? Do you see what I'm pointing to with my cursor?
Yeah.
See how this is a bloom where the watery paint ran into an area of more heavily pigmented area paint. The water kind of flows into it and does this kind of little rivulet type of texture.
Oh.
And there's more blooms up here,
Mm-hmm.
and there's blooms along here. And so I do have blooms throughout. If you have blooms, you want them to be somewhat consistent, like just having one bloom might look like a mistake or accidental. But if you have them fairly consistent, then, you know, it doesn't draw the eye too much. But you can see, look at this bloom I have up here. And I'm going to get rid of that. Like, I don't really want that. You could have that. A sky is the one area where a bloom can really serve you, because the sky sunsets can kind of do that. But I didn't really want it to be such a strong, there is a bit of a bloom up here, but I didn't want it to be that distinct. So I'm actually going to go in and add some more blue to the top. But right now, I'm building my color while it's still wet. I'm adding more red. I'm adding more yellow down here. You don't want to overdo it, but I'm wanting to get more color. Now I'm getting rid of the bloom. See, I'm adding more dense blue up here, and I'm pulling my brush into those little rivulets to kind of push them away. The thing about doing this type of painting is, you know, you can somewhat direct it, but when you're working with this much water and this much blends, like the watercolor does kind of have its own life. And so you can like be the director of the movie and like kind of tell the actors what to do, but ultimately the actors are going to do what they're going to do.
Carissa, on both of your palettes, the yellow, did you say it's a lemon yellow?
Yeah, it's a cadmium lemon.
Is that sort of a cool yellow?
It's a primary yellow. It's a, you know, it's a process yellow.
Thank you.
When you're doing the blending of the colors, you're going to get a mixture of those two colors. Like you're going to get that pink, and the blue is going to be where they meet, sort of a purplish thing.
Yep. And then where the red and
because that's what you're wondering, but you have to kind of plan ahead to kind of anticipate that you're going to get that.
yeah,
right? Because
yeah,
you don't want to put like blue and yellow together, or you're going to get this green thing, right?
exactly. Yeah, you have to be careful of that in the sky, and that's yeah. So, and sometimes the blue does go into the yellow in the sky, and it's a little tricky to, you know, you don't really want a whole lot of green in the sky. That's why it's really nice if you can get a sunset picture that blends from blue to red to yellow like this one does. And then, you know, the yellow to red blend makes that pretty orange color. So now I'm going down into the reflection. And again, I'm starting I'm leaving that little round sun shape, and I'm starting with my yellow, and I'm going to build it out kind of like I did with the sky, but this time going from top to bottom. But if I start with my yellows and my reds, they'll stay more pure and bright.
Carissa, it's intended to mix with other colors.
What's that?
Does a process color
A,
mean?
a process color is a primary color that's used, you know, back in the day before we did inkjet prints and giclées,
Yeah.
we used lithography prints. And in lithography printing, it's usually a 4-color process.
The
And
CMYK.
they use the 3 primary process colors, red, yellow, and blue.
Mm-hmm.
And then black is the 4th one. And with those 3 process colors, you can theoretically mix up any color of the rainbow. So this yellow, this is process yellow. This will mix up any shade of orange or green that calls for yellow.
Okay, thank you.
Like this yellow, this gamboge yellow, or you know, any other kind of yellow won't do that. But this process yellow will. That's why you want your primary colors. And the primary red is closer to this quinacridone rose or alizarin crimson or magenta than it is to this cadmium red.
Oh.
Hi, this is Georgia. I studied printing way back when, and the way they explained it is that in printers, inks have to be transparent. And it turns out that they call it CMYK, which is cyan blue, which is kind of a turquoisey blue. M is magenta for the red. Y is that yellow, the very transparent, cool yellow. And then K is for black. That was to contrast with painter's colors, which are a much a different blue. It's but anyway, it's cyan, which is turquoisey blue, and that's because in transparent colors, mixing works differently than in opaque. In oil colors, you need a different set of you need, you know, slightly different primaries, but in transparent colors, this is the way it works best.
Right, and we're working with a transparent medium in watercolor, so we need those printer colors.
Exactly.
So in this water here, you know, I laid in my blues. So here I'm getting a little more, I'm wanting not such an even, smooth blend. I'm wanting to create the texture of the wavy water. And so I put in my strips of blue and let them dry a little bit. And you can see those outer edges on the right. I'm letting those dry quite a bit. And now I'm adding my red around the edge of the wave. And I'm also letting that yellow semicircle reflection dry a little bit because I really want to kind of retain that shape a bit. And so this is my, you know, the water is always going to reflect the sky. So you can see how it kind of mirrors the blend in the sky. Yeah, I have 2 masters in art, and my first master's is in printmaking. So I did a lot of lithography. Um, and it was good training for my brain because you have to plan it all out ahead of time, and you have to plan, you know, because you do your color separately. You do one layer of your yellow, one layer of your red, one layer of your blue, and you have to plan it out mentally what's going to happen where on the page when you lay the colors on top of each other. So it was really, really excellent training. Unfortunately, it's highly toxic. And this was in the early 80s, and we did nothing to protect ourselves. I just used my raw hands. I mean, I was using gasoline and turpentine, and, you know, the inks are going right into my skin. It was just, when I think about it now, it's just terrible. And I hope I don't die from cancer exposing myself. But I got out of it. I actually got out of it and went into watercolor because it's so much more non-toxic. So this blue here on the sand, this is really dark, you know? And I'm getting really as dark as I can. Look how dark that is. That's the phthalo, which the phthalo is probably, Georgia mentioned cyan. The phthalo is probably the closest that we have to the cyan blue in the printmaking colors. It's kind of a turquoisey blue color. Again, it will help you get your most pure purples and your most vibrant greens. And when I'm doing this, you know, even though I'm putting in these generalized shapes, within the shape, I'm wanting to get some subtle changes. So at the top there, it's a bit different. It goes into more of a purpley color and gets a little lighter. So I'm adding some water and a little bit of red to that along the horizon line. Do make sure, I know I've mentioned this a couple times, but if you're gonna do an ocean sunset, be sure to use a straight edge to draw in your horizon line, because where that ocean meets the sky, it's a pretty straight, hard edge. And you want to get it even, because even when you paint it, you know, by the touch of your hand, it's not going to stay super, like super hard. It will still be natural looking, but you want to at least have it be level and straight. And then I'm putting in, so yeah, I'm putting in some purple in the foreground. Now, if I really wanted to keep this area separate from the sand in the upper right, I would have let the upper right totally dry, but it somewhat blends in the lower part. So I'm gonna go ahead and start doing this. Now notice how I'm skipping around. I'm doing these shapes and I'm skipping around areas of white because I want to create texture. And if I paint the whole thing a solid color, it's going to be harder to do that. So I leave some little areas of white and just do this kind of patterny strokes. And I'm mixing my blue, and that's burnt sienna. I'm wanting to kind of darken it and neutralize it. And see, here I am, I'm blending. I went ahead and blended it with that other area while it was still wet, but it's somewhat dry. So there's a bit of a distinction, dropping in some darker blue in that lower corner and now kind of merging them together.
Carissa, could we see the original
The photograph?
photo, please?
Sure. Whoops. Go away.
Thank you.
Let me get rid of this thing. Yeah, the the texture in the actual, no, here's a good example of simplification for Lynn. See how busy this texture is? These little tiny little ripples. I'm not doing that, am I? I'm really simplifying it and just giving a generalized feel for it. So that's one way you can simplify it. There's other things you could do, like if you wanted to, you could do your saran wrap in this instance. You could even do salt if you wanted to, like you could, or the cheesecloth. You could add something else to create texture, but I'm just going to simplify it with my brush strokes. Now here I'm putting down the yellow reflection into the wet sand. And you can see that I haven't completed the other sand yet, but I want that yellow shape to keep its own. So I'm going to put it in so that it has a chance to dry by the time I go up next to it. And now I am dropping in the orange color into my whites. Oh, am I done? No. Are we doing okay watching this, you guys?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yes.
Yeah.
I have a question,
Okay.
Patricia. Since I came in a little bit late, what red and blue did you use more in the beginning? Is that green?
Well, with my blue, I used a combo of, I just wanted to show here I blotted.
Sure.
I did some blotting there, and I'm going to go in and add more color, but it was getting too heavy. For my blue, I used a combination of phthalo, cobalt, and French ultramarine. And for my red, I'm using primarily quinacridone rose.
Okay. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Carissa, I missed if you said also the reflection that you have coming down in the water, kind of where you're working now on the left. How did you leave that white sparkly?
Could you repeat the question?
Yeah, the reflection of the sunset down in that wet sand, kind of where you are right now in the video. How did you leave that white sparkly? I missed that if you showed it. Did you lift that or just?
I painted it in, but then it was too heavy, so I just blotted it a little with a paper towel.
Okay, so
You
you
can see
mentioned
I'm holding it in my left hand.
and the same with the white part. That was just blotted also.
Oh, well, that's what
The reflection.
that's what I'm talking about. This white part I blotted, and then this
Great.
part is
Thank you.
painted. Yeah,
Thank
this
you.
part is painted and I'm letting it dry, but I am going to go in and drop more color in.
Got it. Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm mixing my quin rose and some, I think that's a little bit of cadmium red. And now I'm doing where the wet sand kind of meets the beach. And gonna kind of tie those two shapes together. And it gets quite orange. So I'm doing my quinacridone and the cadmium lemon. And I'm gonna go up to that yellow reflection shape now.
Can we go back to your painting now instead of the photo?
Sure.
On the lower right-hand corner, Carissa, in your finished painting, it looks a lot lighter. Did it just dry lighter, or do you think you went back in and blotted there too?
No, I didn't blot. It dries lighter. It definitely dries lighter. And also, I think the lighting might have been a little different when I took the photo, because the sky in the video is dry now, but it looks slightly different than looks a little darker than the photo. So I think it's just also a difference in the lighting, which can really make a big difference in how something looks. That's why if you're photographing something, especially if you're going to be sending it in for any kind of promotional thing, like whether you're doing your social media or whether you're entering a juried show or whether you're loading something onto your website, it's really important to have good lighting and photograph it well. It can make all the difference in the world between getting selected, you know, selling your work, getting your likes or whatever, and not. It's really, really important. Okay, so now I want to, there's a little bit of a hard edge, and I want these two to blend a bit more. So what I'm gonna do, dropping in more red here, but I can see that I added some blue. Yeah, bringing some of that pink into the dry sand, and then mute Patricia.
Okay. You gonna elect Biden?
We just have 4 minutes of this left, so hang in there, guys.
No, this is great.
I didn't do the whole entire thing, but I brought it to a point where I had to stop and let it dry because I wanted the foamy waves to really be separate. So here, this is where I blotted it because it was getting too kind of muddy. So I blotted it, and now I'm dropping the yellow back in here. You know, because the yellow, it can get overwhelmed really easily. So that helped a lot to bring that down.
Yeah, it's amazing how you kept the yellow from turning green.
Yeah, well, yeah, it's not really meeting the blue too much because I have that red as a buffer, and that's what you want. And I don't know if this video is going to show it, but I just want to point out how I dropped in a little blue along up here to kind of help marry these two shapes together, because this is really abrupt right here. This like red, orange to blue. So, you know, if you pull a little of one color into the other, it just helps blend them and helps them merge a bit. Yeah, there it is. I just did it. Okay, am I done? What else am I gonna do here? Yeah, so I'm just showing this.
Be nice to see you do the water part.
Sorry, I stopped the video, and you know, I stopped it because I had to let it dry, and then I didn't film the rest of the painting.
Oh,
But I can tell you what I did. I used some iridescent, you can see my iridescent blue right here in my palette, and I mixed a little bit of my blue into it, and I just basically put in these shapes there and then added some blue in between. It's very basic and simple. It's really not a big deal. I think we get hung up on that because it's foam and it's just, you know, but if you don't think about what it is and you just think of it in terms of color and form. So I'm dropping in more yellow. I'm wanting to strengthen that a little bit. So I'm dropping in some more yellow.
Carissa, what did you use for the actual sun yellow?
I just used my lemon yellow.
Just in pure form, huh?
Yeah.
And Carissa, on that shape over that we're not going to see painted, you said you put in the blue, which you saw the shapes, and then you left the foam white. Then did you go over just sort of with your sort of a very light, very little color, because it's not white. And
No, I didn't leave anything white. What I did was I got my iridescent blue. See where my cursor is on my palette up here? So I got some of this and I mixed a little bit of my blue with it, probably this warmer blue, mixed a little bit of these together. I brushed in this strip. I brushed in this strip.
Oh, I see.
I brushed in this strip. And then I went and dipped into my regular blue and I filled in this area in between. And then while it was still wet, I got some more iridescent and kind of dropped it in here.
Okay.
Do you see that?
Yeah. So it has that shape of foam, but then it has a frothy feel to the rest of it too. Great, thanks.
Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and get out of the share here and just check in with you guys before
I had a question about the drawing.
Okay.
The island is, you know, the right part of the island is closer than the left part. Do you ever think about, you know, dropping that down a little bit, the right edge? You know.
Well, it wasn't like that in the photo. So I stay true to the photo. Like I usually don't alter things and bring my own imagination into the perspective or anything like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
Okay, how are we doing, you guys? Good?
Great.
Okay, hopefully that was helpful.
That was very helpful.
Good. Okay. Alrighty, so we have some critiques to do today. We're going to go ahead and get started with that. Let's see, Dennis, I know you have to leave in 15 minutes. Did you send anything in today?
I did not, since I
Okay.
wasn't with you on Monday.
Okay, and I know there is a video on the YouTube channel of the lesson for Monday if you want to check that out.
Okay, thanks. Yeah, I will.
And then I have, Diana has to leave early and I have hers ready to go first. Right here. Let me just get rid of my video. Okay.
Look how similar the colors are to your sunset.
Yeah, look at that. So Diana, do you want to tell us about this? Where is she? Do you want to, there we go. You're unmuted now.
Yeah, I didn't really want to do like a landscape of mountains. So I just, as you said before, even if you're doing something that's not completely a landscape, you should still, you know, have real mountains that you're working with. So I have some pictures and an oil painting. So I drew the shapes the way that I coloring them in. I knew I wanted to do purple for one of them. So
Great.
I just did your plan of doing one thing at a time. So I did with the bottom and then I put the purple one on. and then I put the more magenta pinky one on the left, and then I did the orangey yellow one, and then the last one I did was the one on the right.
Great. So yeah, do you see how effective that is to really keep your shapes simplified and distinct from one another? It's got a real strong graphic quality to it.
And I did the sky last
Uh-huh.
because I wanted to wait and see what the mountains looked like before I decided on the sky. So I experimented with a couple of different colors and went with the more contrasty, you know, aquamarine turquoise color rather than a light pink.
Very nice. Yeah, I love your color palette on this. I think it's a beautiful painting. Any
Thanks.
comments on this one, you guys?
I think it's beautiful. I love it as abstract mountain view. I think it's just really pretty.
It's very pleasing and bold at the same time, so it's great.
Colors are great.
I love the
The
simplicity.
colors are wonderful. I'd like to ask about the white line brown color. How do you keep that?
Well, when I let everything dry in between painting it. And so I had, when I went to do the orange and the light lavender,
Oh, you're kind of cutting out, Diana.
the fact that the white line was kind of demarcating the difference between those shapes. So then but I hadn't done it on the left-hand side. So then when I was done, I went back with my X-Acto knife and just cut away a little bit of the paint.
Oh.
So that you could see the line all the way across, because I think it made the look better to have a little bit of the white line as opposed to just blending into the rest of the colors. Because there's a little bit of white along the orange and the purple.
Good.
Looks great.
Wonderful. Lovely piece. Thank you.
Thank you.
I love the shape.
I think somebody once gave me a little white birthday candle to put in at the edges of shapes if I wanted to repel the paint, so that you get sort of like a batik. Yeah, a little wax crayon. So you get a slightly batik effect that's a little bit similar to the last painting.
Yes. Good point.
You don't.
I think this is Ivy's.
No, this is Carrie's.
Or Carrie. For some reason, I get you two mixed up. Are you friends with each other?
We are.
Yeah, I can tell that. Okay. Carrie, do you want to tell us about this beautiful painting?
So I really tried to simplify the shapes, like, you know, you were showing us. And the back mountain actually had, you know, shadows, but I thought that was just too much. So I just painted the back mountain purple, and then I came down and did the other shapes. But it's hard to see the different lines or different ridges, you know. I'm not sure how I could have done that. And I didn't use any green. I made my own green.
Good.
All the greens are made.
The greens are beautiful. Yeah, I think this is a really good painting. I think your fruit trees with the shadows and those round shapes, and you know, just really capture it. And then the beautiful patterns of demarcations in the hills is really good.
I mean, should the shadows have been a little lighter, or maybe
no.
Back?
I don't think they should be lighter at all.
Okay.
No. Any comments on this one?
I really love this. Is this along the 126?
Yeah.
No, this is along 150 on the way to Ojai.
Okay, yeah.
Well, actually, you know what? I'm not really sure. It's
Well,
in
it
Ojai
definitely
somewhere.
reads as a local scene. Like, there's no doubt about it. This is the somewhere around the surrounding Santa Barbara area for sure.
And even the
Yeah, well,
sky
this-
is so realistic looking.
Yeah, I love this, the way you did your clouds.
Yeah.
Well,
I
I
painted it
really
and then
like.
I dabbed, you know, with tissue to get some of the paint off, and then I put some other little pink and gray in there, and I don't know, it just kind of fell together.
I think it's beautiful, Carrie.
Very
Thank you.
nice.
It looks really, especially the fruit trees really pop out. I was thinking maybe on the tree, the big tree on the right, to darken the bottom, which would make even those fruit trees stand out more
Okay.
below it.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, those that kind of, you know, trying to do the simplified shapes, those trees didn't actually get that technique. I kind of went back into my regular technique on the trees.
I love the shadows.
You've got a really nice atmospheric perspective too. All of your really intense darks anyway are forward. So it's kind of getting paler and paler as it goes into the distance, and that really gives a beautiful sense of distance to have it be, the colors be softer for the distant things, and then more bright and contrasty forward.
Thank you.
I love the shapes of your shadows in the hillsides.
Yeah.
I didn't know if they should be more angular or, because I really didn't follow the picture like 100%, because there was a lot more angles, a lot more shadows, and I just thought that was too busy.
Yeah, it's good to keep it pretty simplified, I think.
I think it's beautiful, and I'm pretty sure there's wine tasting happening down at the end of that path.
Let's go.
There's always wine
That was
tasting.
great.
Great. Thank you, Carrie.
Thanks.
Okay. And this is Dolly's. Dolly already did her sunset.
Good morning.
Good morning, Dolly.
I had to walk away because I did one and I didn't like it, so I walked away. And so I did a smaller one. This is like a sample one that I did. And I kind of used the metallic paint in this. And I kind of liked it. You ladies do such beautiful work with your softness, and I seem to be very hard in my colors.
Is it acrylic?
No, I have a metallic paint, and I had some soft watercolors in the sky and ink on the trees in the program.
Well, my two suggestions would be, well, I have a few suggestions. One would be to use more water, you know, to try to just get more flow. The brush strokes are a bit fussy, you know. If you could get a little more flow happening with water, I think would be good. Also, I would not use just pure black. I mean, it's fine to add black, but I would try to get some other color in there in your darks. And I would probably make the land in the distance a different dark than what you have in the foreground. And also I would have a little more color change in the ocean. I would try to get some of the reflection of that sky into the ocean.
Of the orange, yeah.
So those are my three suggestions.
Okay, thank you.
Any other comments on this one?
I love the colors of the sky, and I think the texturing on the trees is great.
Oh, thank you.
Good. Great.
I do need to go lighter and softer. It's hard for me to do that. I don't know why.
Well, you know, it's important, Dolly, to honor your own essence. And if you're a bold, strong painter, gosh, embrace that. We have enough soft, wimpy people in the world. We need, we need some powerful women, bold painters. Like, the ultimate compliment, she paints like a man.
Okay,
Go for it, honey. Go for it.
Thank you.
Okay, so here's Cheryl's delicate orchids. Beautiful detail in these flowers. Do you want to tell us? It looks like you're done with this, Cheryl. Is this complete?
Finally.
Hey, congratulations.
I drug it back out. I had started it and was going to do the orchid show, but I didn't finish it. It looks like on my screen that it's not the right colors. It's more brighter orange and pinks. But yeah, I masked out the little details in the top of the flower, or I mean in the, what do you call it? The center of the orchid. And I didn't use the masking fluid where you see that kind of weird center. I started with doing that at first on another piece of paper, and I thought it looked too cut out, I guess. But anyway, yeah, I love detail, and it took me a long time to get this done. And I think my sister wants to buy it.
Yeah.
All right.
I don't know what to charge her. I took so long to paint it, and I feel like, I can't charge my sister a lot of money, but right now I'm not working. I'm a massage therapist, so I could really use the income.
Charge by the hour.
Yeah.
So let's talk about that for a minute.
I would like some feedback about that. The figure that came into my mind right away would be 500, but then I think, oh my gosh, I can't charge her that. So I would probably only ask her 400 for it.
What size is it, Cheryl?
It's a quarter sheet of watercolor.
Okay. And do you know how many hours you have into the thing?
Oh my God. It took me a long time to draw it. And then, I've taken.
Can you guesstimate approximate number of hours for us?
Gee, I wish I would have recorded it down, because it's taken me weeks to paint this thing because I'm slow with the detail.
Okay, so there's these are the factors for pricing your work, guys.
Right.
Number one is, how badly do you need the money? Right?
Right.
I mean, really, I would rather sell my painting and get money if I need it than not sell it and not have the money and try to come up with money a different way. That's not as much fun for me.
If I was going to charge by the hour, it'd be thousands.
Right, right. So the other thing, so first of all, how motivated are you to get that money? Second of all, how willing are you to let go of the thing? Do you have an emotional attachment to it, or you feel like, oh, well, I enjoyed this, but I'm ready for it to go off to its new home?
Yeah.
Especially to find a happy home, and especially with someone you know and you love, that will, it's your sister, it's still in the family or whatever.
Right.
And then the other thing is supply and demand. Do you have a ton of paintings sitting around that you would love to just unload and clear out of your space and get out into the world? Or are people banging down your doors for your work and you can't keep up with the demand? Because really it's all about supply and demand. And then you know, finally is just your time. How much time do you have in it? But the thing is, for me, I just think, you know, I've been doing this for a really long time and I have made my living from my art. And too often I see artists getting hung up on requiring large amounts of money for their paintings because their ego. I think a lot of artists' egos get in the way and they feel like, you know, well, I'm so important and I'm so valuable and I have to make a ton of money on this. And I just think that it blocks people from getting that flow happening, you know. And what I have seen is that if you truly enjoy the process of your painting and you're really happy to have it move on and you're willing to sell it for a decent price and actually be a little generous with people, I feel like that generosity comes back to you, and I think it results in more sales. It gets that flow happening. So, you know, you can, I mean, I having said that, I do keep track of my hours. I do try to pay myself a decent living wage, which I do from my art. And it's still, you know, much higher, much higher than if I had to work some menial job that I didn't like. So I just think don't get carried away when you're pricing your work, because I know that in these times, art is not really exactly at the top of people's list of what they're spending their money on. And there's less buyers, you know, the supply has increased, the demand has decreased. So we have to adapt and adjust. Look, the people who are going to come out on top of this whole coronavirus thing are the people who are the most resilient and adaptable. And if you want to continue on as an artist and make some money from your art, then you need to be adaptable enough and resilient enough to let go of any notions about your grandiosity. And I know this is sounding harsh, but this is what the ego needs to hear.
Well said.
So I would encourage you to, you know, this is a beautiful painting and it's done with a lot of TLC. I would encourage you to give your sister the very best price that you feel comfortable with.
Yeah. Well, I think she knows how hard I work, and she also's been working through the whole coronavirus. She makes pretty good money, so
okay.
I'm not. I don't think she's going to be offended if I'm, you know, I maybe she will be. I can work with her, you know, so I can talk with her about it. I'm not trying to be greedy or anything.
No, and I'm not saying that you are. The thing is that,
I would like some feedback, you know, too, with some, like Francine, I think wants to say something.
Yeah, I was gonna say that. Are you gonna give it to her matted and framed? Or are you giving it to her just the painting, and she's gonna do her own matting and framing?
That's what I was thinking too. That affects a lot of my prices, how much the framing cost.
Because what I do is
I'm not going to
go ahead.
I'm not going to frame or mat it because I'm sending it to Missoula, Montana.
Yeah, right. So she still has to invest money in the matting and framing unless she knows how to mat herself, which is another couple $100 maybe.
Right.
So I try to not think of how much time I put into my paintings, because even paintings that I paint fast, the time that I've been painting all my life is invested in every painting that I do. So some paintings I paint fast and some paintings I really labor over, and they're, you know, the same thing. So I price mine by size, because if someone wants to buy,
what would you sell it for unmatted, unframed, Francine? What would you say?
Well, what do your 11 by, what do your quarter sheets go for, Francine?
like 350 or 400 or something like that. And if I'm in a show that they take 40-50%, then I bump it up a little bit. But
Okay.
that's matted in frame. But I don't sell my work for a lot. But then I seem to sell things. So
I haven't sold things for a lot. What I've sold have been, I have sold something for 500 before. And
yeah, your work is so detailed. So it,
I work on it less.
yeah.
Yeah, and I am considering, that we have been through the coronavirus, and considering who is buying it. It's my family member too, and I think you would give a family rate and
Yeah. And then if sometimes if people buy a painting, then you give them a break on the next one because then maybe they want to buy more. So it's.
She's already got my bunny painting, my love bunny one.
Yeah,
So.
I usually give repeat customers a 10% discount.
Yeah.
That's kind of a good rule of thumb.
Yes.
It's nice to always say, this would be my regular price, and with a family discount, I will give you $100 off or something. You know what I mean? I do that with my weddings. I give a friends and family discount.
Yeah.
Ooh, how pretty is that?
Okay, here's Cheryl's other one of the sweet peas. This came out really well, Cheryl.
Beautiful.
It looks like you finished. Is this one also finished?
Yeah.
Yay, you
I
finished
started that one last year. Remember that one? And I threw a background in it. I just went and put a background in, and I darkened it a little bit too. I put I made the flowers darker because they seemed so light. They were more purple too, and I think they show up a little more magenta here. But anyway,
I think it's gorgeous, and the background is amazing.
Yeah, it's really pretty.
Beautiful.
Very painterly.
That's a small little painting. It's a 1/8 sheet, I guess you'd call it.
Very well. Congratulations on getting those two done.
I've been working on trying to get things done since I've had the time to paint.
Good.
Cheryl, one thought I had, I know you make cards and I don't know.
You guys, go ahead.
I'm sorry. I was going to say to Cheryl, I know she makes cards and I don't know how much money she makes on them, but if you use that image in your cards, you're also getting money from somewhere else on it. And if you discuss that with your sister, I'm sure she'd be comfortable with your doing that.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I make prints, and I have everything photographed professionally usually, and then I make prints and cards if I want to. Thank you for saying that. Yeah, I will.
So that would, that's a source of income from that painting, but not from your sister.
Right. I haven't been selling my cards lately because of the coronavirus thing, but I've got to go out and do some promoting of my cards. But thank you for reminding me.
Okay.
I just wanted to say one more thing. In terms of shipping, I gave someone a price and it was great. And I brought it to, I wrapped it up to mail it, and it was $75 to mail the painting. I said, oops, forgot about that part. So just wanted to share that.
I'm gonna, I'll have her pay for the shipping. That'll be her cost.
Yeah, that's right.
No problem.
Okay, whose painting is this?
Mine, Donna.
Oh, that's right. Do you want to tell us about this one, Donna?
This is the scene we were taking the train home from Eugene, Oregon.
Oh.
And as we were driving along the coast, it was kind of like sunset-y, and I just took the picture.
Hello.
So it's like a warm, cool kind of thing.
Oh, can't seem to.
But I messed up the stuff.
I'm trying to mute whoever's. Okay.
Patricia here, my screen says host disabled attendee screen sharing.
Oh, are you? Well, you can't share right now because we're doing
Well, somehow I left the whole thing. I don't know.
Can you see Donna's painting up?
No.
Can you guys see Donna's painting up?
Yes, yeah, I can.
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
I'm not sure what happened to you, Patricia.
I'm not either. I'll try again.
Okay.
It said post attendance, so, and I didn't do anything. Sorry.
That happened to me last week when my phone rang.
Yeah, the phone rang, and that's what happened.
Oh, it's something to do with your phone.
Ah.
Okay, so let's talk about this painting. Donna, are you pleased with it?
I never like my paintings.
Oh.
I wasn't wild about the colors, but
I think the colors, I think the colors are, I mean, they're okay, but I think it's a little blasé. I mean, it's a very peaceful painting, but I think that it would probably be more exciting if it had a little more color in it. I'm liking this midsection. I think the foreground is a bit dull, maybe.
Yeah, that's the way it looked in the picture.
Okay.
The sun wasn't on it. It lit
Okay.
in the back. But
Then maybe it needs to be darker.
Darker? Okay.
Yeah, if the sun's not on it, it looks more like just kind of, I don't know. Does anybody else have anything to say about this one?
I was looking at it with a little bit of the foreground and a little bit of the left cropped. And it just made a really pretty composition. And those trees on the right-hand side in the distance and those far hills are really well done. And it would bring us to that because the colors are neat and it really does feel like you're driving down the coast.
I'd like to see a rusty kind of reddish color in the foreground just to make the three triad colors, and it would make the whole scene pop a little bit more.
Thank you. That's good to know.
More of a glow.
That's a good idea.
Yeah.
I like the road, the paths back here carving up the hill shapes, and I do like the trees. I like the sky and the midground, but this foreground, I think that's a really good suggestion, just bringing some reds down here, Donna.
Yeah, thank you. That's good.
Okay, great. This one, I was wondering if this is a
that's pretty.
What do you call it?
Diptych?
Diptych, thank you.
Oh,
is this a diptych? No, it's just that the mountains kind of lined up a little bit, but it's not a diptych. Okay, so we'll look at this. This is, let's see, this. I think this is Melissa.
It's Melissa's for sure.
That's beautiful.
Yeah. Do you want to tell us about this one, Melissa? Is she still with us?
She was, yeah, I saw her.
You'll have to unmute yourself. Maybe she's not here anymore.
Beautiful composition.
Did she go away?
Yeah.
I think she's gone.
Beautiful colors.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Well, we'll wait and come back to that when she's here.
And it is kind of a different composition. It makes it interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. We'll go into that further when she's here. Gosh, I'm kind of recognizing this style, but I can't place whose this one is.
This is mine. It's Ivy.
Okay.
So this was my first attempt at trying to simplify the shapes of the mountains. And I was sort of happy with the drawing, and there's a couple of things I like about this, but I really wasn't happy overall because in thinking about so intensely the things my color palette was not, it wasn't a good palette, and it's too muddy for me.
What do you mean it wasn't a good palette?
Well, it wasn't bright enough. It wasn't bold enough. I think, for the mountains. What happened was it was even lighter and more watery, but sort of dirty. You know, I don't know why. Because I didn't have enough pigment. I was making some rookie mistakes that I've heard you talk about. And what happened was I put in that last mountain in the back, and it was a brighter purple, darker. And I went, oh, that's what it needs. It needs color. So, but I remembered that had to be more muted in the back. And so then I started adding things that, you know, it was a good experience. I like my tree. I like my foreground trees.
Yeah.
And I liked it. It was a good experiment, you know. So
I like it.
Yeah, I agree. I think that for me, like this whole area, this whole left diagonal from here down is really good. I think this is somehow,
it got confusing in the picture, even in the photograph.
yeah,
I couldn't tell what was in front of what, and then it got darker and darker, and I couldn't figure out what was going on. Yeah.
But you know, I actually like your palette. I like the colors in this one.
Good.
And yeah.
I have another one that I did after this to try and deal with the colors.
Okay.
And, I sent it earlier. I sent it last night, so I don't know if you can see it. But then I was really happy with my colors on the mountains, but I got a little fussy in the front.
Is this your photo? Is this one of your?
That's my photo, Carissa. Melissa here.
Oh, okay.
I'm back. I'm back. My power went out.
Oh.
No.
Oh, okay. We had your painting up. You know, I'm sorry. I feel, let's see, maybe, no, that's not yours. Is it?
No.
I feel bad because you guys keep telling me you're sending things and then I don't seem to have them, but.
Well, I sent them at 2 different times, so it makes sense that you're not seeing it together. So if you come across it, great. If you don't worry about it.
I don't see it here. So
That's Melissa.
let's go to Melissa's and then maybe if you want to send it to me again.
That's beautiful.
Okay. Do you want to tell us about this, Melissa?
Well, this goes with this is on Grass Mountain up on Figueroa Mountain Road. It was sort of a dull day, and the foreground, I don't know, I feel like the foreground needs some oomph to it.
What about bringing in a little bit more of that orange? You've got a few dabs.
Yeah, I think you're right. It needs to be warmer. There's it's a lot of pale greens, and it was
very pretty. You got a lot of oohs and ahs on this while you were gone.
Oh.
It's really pretty and serene and harmonious. But if you wanted to, the thing is that, you know, the tones are pretty similar in the distance as they are in the foreground. And the foreground would actually be a little brighter. So you could just heighten those colors, and you don't have to get super bright, but if you just brought in a little bit more brightness to the foreground, I think it might help somewhat.
Yeah, so oranges and little yellows.
Yeah, you've got a little bit down here. You know, I'm wanting to see maybe a little bit more of this, just slightly heightened a bit more.
Mm-hmm.
Does anybody else have a comment on that?
I like it because it has a definite source of light, and it just, the light hitting on the left side of the mountain and the shadow, it just,
yeah,
pretty.
It just works together too. The sky and everything works in it.
Yeah, it's a very soft, gentle painting, but yet she's got some strong darks here.
The sky is beautiful.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Very pretty.
Thank
Very
you.
nice.
Okay.
This is short.
Another one here.
Oh.
This one.
Ooh,
so that's gorgeous.
That's a nice one as well. Do you want to?
Yeah, this is a Royal Hondo, and I did it from a photograph. I sketched it on site, but then I painted from a photograph. And again, it was a lot of greens. It was spring, so I sort of feel like I tried adding some oranges to the bushes on the left, but I feel like it's sort of monotone color.
You know, these paintings that are limited palette colors are really successful in holding together well, though.
Yeah, it's true. I think there's enough variety. To me, it doesn't feel monotone really. You've got some blues, some greens, some oranges, some violets.
What do you think about adding some more warm tones to the road?
Yeah, maybe the road.
I think it needs a signature and a frame.
I had to run to my bedroom. I have a picture that's very much like this, and it was like Eric Perfect, or he used to be the president of the Art Association for many, many, many years. He was a father from up at the Santa Barbara Missionary. He's pretty famous. But your painting is so similar to his.
Oh, well, thank you.
Beautiful.
I like, this is Georgia. I like the drawing underneath this. I think you have a balance between draftsmanship and painterliness that I really like, because I am myself somebody who I'm pretty comfortable with drawing, but I can't paint worth a damn. And I admire this. I think this is a beautiful balance.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. I tend to be, I also love drawing, and it's harder for me to be looser. But I'm trying.
I like the negative painting in the middle ground also is really nicely done.
Yes.
Yeah, I love this road because it takes you right back into the fork of the mountains there.
Yeah, I'm not sure that I would add more orange to the road. I kind of like the contrast, you know, the value contrast, the lighter quality of the road with those darker shadows along the edge. It really leads you right in. I think I would leave it. I think you're done.
All right. Well, thank you.
Thank you for sharing your beautiful work.
Clouds are beautiful too.
And then, whose photo is this?
Oh, that's mine.
So
that went with the first painting.
Okay, gotcha.
So now that I'm looking at the photo, it is warmer in the foreground. So
Yes,
I think I do want to bring some yellows and stuff into the foreground.
Good. Okay, I'm glad you saw that.
Yeah.
Okay, and then this one just got sent in. Remind me whose this one is? Is this person here? Anyone gonna claim this one? Maybe they got off the call.
Oh, Carissa, this is mine. It just came up. My internet is a little sketchy, so.
Oh, okay. Who's talking?
Was Bonnie.
You're cutting out.
Patricia. Oh, Bonnie.
Yeah, it says my internet is unstable, but this is Bonnie. If you can hear me.
Okay. Yeah, you're just cutting out a lot, Bonnie. I'm not sure that we're going to be able to hear you much. Yeah.
Okay. Well, if not, maybe next time then.
Well, we can talk to you. Why don't you tell us anything and then we'll give our feedback.
Okay. And I sent the picture, the photograph along with it. That might help explain what my feelings are here.
Okay. Hold on a second.
Okay.
Hold on a second.
Search for Bonnie.
I didn't see it.
It's in the same email.
Okay. Oh, there it is.
Oh, there, yeah.
So So this is looking, I'm standing underneath a redwood tree in my front yard looking across the street. And so I was, I haven't finished the center part. And then the right-hand part of the tree that was so brilliantly lit in the photograph that, you know, it kind of washed it out. And I'm not happy with how this came out. So
This is where you want that process yellow. Do you see the difference?
Mm.
The process yellow, that lemony yellow that I was talking about today, that would make this lime green. You've got a golden yellow in here, and do you see how it makes it more of a muted green?
Yes.
So you need to have the proper yellow to get that brightness.
Okay. Well, the other thing I was just thinking about as I went out and looked at the real tree, would it help if I actually drew in the leaves and the branches on that part, because it just doesn't seem to be working from the photograph.
I do. I tend to draw in my tree shapes and my leaves. I mean, you don't get down to every single one, but you do want to kind of generally put them in. Do you see how there's so much more leaves and vegetation in the photo than what you have in your painting?
Yeah.
You know, you want to get the fullness of all that vegetation. And so it's not actually too late. You could go in and add more leaves up here.
Okay. Okay.
I like how the photograph is beautifully framed.
Yeah.
Yeah, great photo.
Yeah, interesting cropping.
Thank you. I did like the photo.
And if you have any lemon yellow, you could just put some lemon yellow on top of this to brighten it up.
Okay.
You know, and then also we tend to shrink stuff. Look how much larger these leaves are in the photo than what you have them here.
Yeah.
You know, make the leaves really, give them their nice full size and shape on here.
Okay.
No?
I see that as a label for a great bottle of wine. It's
yes. Yeah, totally.
And the purple flowers with the shadows, Mexican sage, that's perfect.
Yeah, that's nice.
Thank you.
As a business owner or a real estate manager? You can only choose one, and they don't have real estate manager as an option. But
Somebody's talking real estate.
I know. I'm trying to.
Who is that?
They have real estate.
No, it's on mute.
Whoever's having their business real estate call, please.
Oh, really? Yeah, I thought it was weird.
I don't know who it
Well,
is.
I've been business owner. Okay. Yeah. I shouldn't do other.
So, it's hard to talk over, but
I know. I'm trying to hold on. I'm going to mute everybody first. There. Now everybody's muted. So unmute yourself, Bonnie. And then if anyone else has something to say about the painting, they can unmute.
The other part that I was just going to add in was some more of in the middle, there's some jacaranda trees that are behind that white fence. And so I thought I'd add it in a little, the color doesn't come out well.
Oh, I see back here.
Yes, yes.
Uh-huh. Yeah, you could bring a little lavender into these greens. I think that would be pretty because then you'd have it kind of woven. You'd have some in the foreground, you've got it in the background, and then you'd have it in the midground.
Okay.
So that would be.
My one other thing is, should I go over the fence with white, or could I finish the fence with?
Yeah, you want to at least put some water with a little bit of tone down. You don't want to have the raw paper.
Okay.
At least put some water down, but I would add a little bit of tone to the fence.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
Any other suggestions?
Well, I just love how you brought the lavender forward, and instead of seeing a street, we have what looks like a little stream or something. It just made it so much prettier.
Yeah, it is a prettier version than the photo.
Thank you.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think your interpretation of a road makes it more look like a little walking path.
Yeah.
And especially where your foreground leaf, I thought that was just sort of grassy area coming up into the path. So I don't know. I sort of like that left, the lower portion of the foreground leaf left as a grass area, but then maybe detail out the leaf, the group of the branch coming from the right.
Okay.
Hey, on the jacaranda trees, Carissa, how purple or lavender should she go? Like somewhere towards the hill colors, or
Kind of somewhere between this and the hill colors. You know, it's quite muted, really, but just not quite this bright. Maybe if she mixed these two colors together, that would be a good match.
Okay, great.
and maybe not real sharp, maybe
Yeah, just soft, you know, little brush strokes to kind of go with these greens in here. Kind of similar to how she has the greens. And she's got the whites in here, so it's perfect. She can just drop it into those areas.
There's something about the white fence and those trees and the purple mountains. It reminds me of, you know, impressionist paintings.
Uh-huh.
I think it's, and then adding the purple for the jacaranda leaves.
Definitely want to see this one when you're done, Bonnie.
Oh,
thank you so
bring
much.
it back when you're done.
Okay.
And Barbara recommended using a sponge for the jacaranda texture.
Oh, yeah.
So that's another possibility.
Okay.
You can keep that in mind.
Thank you so much.
Okay, you're welcome. And before we sign off, I just want to check because it looks like I got a, okay.
Carissa, I just tried to resend that one, so I'm not sure you got it or not. Ivy.
Okay, I got it. Okay. All right. Nice, Ivy.
Well, this one, that's what I was, when I did that other one, that it was, the colors seemed a little sort of, and they just didn't have enough pigment in them for me, you know, for what I was trying to do. So then I painted these mountains, and I really like these mountains. I got a little fussy and detailed in the front, so I don't like the foreground as much. But you know, it was a really good, you know, sort of a student experience to realize when I'm concentrating on one thing, I can't forget the other stuff, you know. So.
But on your first painting, if you incorporated a little bit of that eggplant purplish color as you've got in your mountain on the left here, I think that would really enhance it.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Yeah.
I think your colors are very rich. This is Georgia. I think your colors are very rich looking. And I don't so much mind the foreground areas being more detailed, because in real life, I see foreground more clearly than distance. So, but I especially like your colors.
Well, that, like I said, that I was so concentrating on that, some stuff fell by the wayside, but you know, it shows that, like, sort of like your golf game, you know, like if you could put it all together, you know, at the same time, it'd be great. But you know, when you're really concentrating on one thing, sometimes, you know, you get a little lax in other stuff. But I was happy with the mountains, and that's what I was concentrating on.
Yeah, there's a subject.
Yeah, it's kind of, it's good, you know, it's helpful. That's where it's helpful to get up and take little breaks from your painting and come back and look at the whole thing. Because it's true, when we're painting, we get focused and kind of fixated on, which is good. I mean, you're in the moment and you're just focusing on one area at a time. But if you can just take a break now and then and look at your thing.
Well, one thing that happened with this is that I did I just did the mountains till about, you know, the top half really, and I walked away. And the next day I came back to my palette and I started the foreground, and I didn't add more pigment, so I added water because it was dry and it got again too washed out, so that I had to keep layering it. And I just find when I keep layering, it gets really sort of overworked. So
you want to mix up your decent puddles of color. And
so even I did the first time, but I'm just saying that it was sort of again, a rookie mistake of I came back and I said, I love these colors. These were great, but I didn't mix them again the next day.
Yeah, you do have to keep adding more, you know, more color.
So those things that you're telling us are I'm finding out the hard way.
Yeah, I know. It's one thing. You can lead a horse to water, but
right. But until you go, what's happening? You go, what's it talk about?
Yeah.
So it's really a tribute to all the things that you're telling us. You know, I appreciate it so much, Carissa.
You're welcome. So I got, let's see. Chloe, are you there, hon?
Yes, hello.
Hi. Do you mind if I address your question a little bit with the group, since we have some time and since it came up today?
Yeah, of course.
Okay. So Chloe has a business question, and I want to just kind of, since we have some time and we kind of went into this and some of you seem interested in knowing more about this. Do you mind if I read this?
Yeah, please go ahead.
Is that okay with you?
Yeah, of course.
So she's saying, I have been getting several commissions as of late, and I'm wondering if I'm charging correctly. I also wanted to know what you recommend as far as portals to sell my work. I am currently working on a website and doing some photography of my work, but other than that, I don't know how to sell. So let's talk about pricing again. When you're getting to this point, I think that, you know, when I was doing my commissions, I basically kind of did what Francine does, is I broke it down into size categories. So you have your full sheet size, your half sheet size, which is kind of basically your 16 by 20. And then your quarter sheet size, which is an 11 by 14.
Okay.
And so kind of the bigger the painting, the person gets a little bit more of a price break for for more square footage. It's a little less per square inch as you get bigger. So let's say your quarter sheet, and I'm not saying that these are the numbers that you can use, but let's just say for math's sake, we're going to make the quarter sheet, the 11 by 14, we're going to make $250. So if you doubled that to the 16 by 20, it would be $500. But we're going to give a little bit of a discount. So we'll make it, let's say, $400 for a 16 by 20. You could also go $450 if you want. But, you know, you want to make it less than $500. And then if you double the 400 to the full sheet, well, let's say if you quadrupled the 250, it would be 1,000. And we want to make it a discount. We would probably make, we'd price that around $750. So these are unframed, just loose watercolor prices.
Oh, okay.
No, you know, no framing, no matting, just for the watercolor. And then, you know, depending on if you're going to be doing the framing or the customer's going to be doing the framing, you'd have to add on to that. But you might want to just sit down and break it down. And then you can tell people, like, here's my price list, you know? And I
like
think,
that. Okay.
what's that?
I like that method.
Good.
It really kind of helps organize it a little bit better.
Yeah, and then you're clear in your mind and they can be clear in their mind. So that's probably the most logical way to do your pricing, especially someone like you who is so prolific, you know, and I think you paint pretty quickly and easily. I think this would be good, and I think you could get a really good little business going this way. And then
that's what I'm hoping.
Yeah, and then what happens is when people start buying from you, then whoever comes over to their house and sees your work is going to be exposed. It's almost like free advertising. They're going to be sharing their work with their friends and family, and other people are going to be calling you. You'll know, and especially if you're pleasant to work with and really reasonable and fair, you'll get referrals this way, and you'll get more business. So you're working on a website, which is great. And are you hiring someone to do your website, or are you doing
So
it?
I went online to use the website Squarespace, and I've been building my website through it. Just a very simple format. I have it separated kind of into landscape and floral, and then like animals and such at the moment. And I'm working on connecting like my social media outlets to it. And I've mostly been getting commissioned work through like Instagram direct messages.
Great.
And stuff like that.
This is awesome.
Yeah, I've been really happy so far. I just really want to like push it and see how far I can go. I just haven't been charging super high amounts. I've been charging like for like a 16 by 20, I was charging for around like 120, 150. So
yeah, I think you could bump your prices up, you know, but this is this is a really good example, you guys. She's selling because her prices are so affordable, and she's painting a lot, so she can do that. And what you could do is maybe gradually increase your prices so it's not such a shock to people.
Sure.
You know, do 175 for the next month and then bring it up to 200. Like, just increase it in $25 increments till you get up to the $400 mark.
I love that.
By 20. Okay. Yeah, Instagram is kind of the new, Instagram is probably the #1 like online advertising for artists right now. The thing about Instagram is it's really geared toward images and pictures and visuals. So,
right.
And I know that you know about doing the tagging, and
woohoo!
So yeah, that's a great avenue.
I ask you about that tagging because I don't know how to do that. I'm not very good at, I haven't done much on Instagram, and I would love to learn more about that. Is there a place to go to learn how to do that, or how would you do that?
Well, you basically want to type in, so for those of you who don't know what tagging is, you put the pound sign in, and then right afterwards you put a word or a phrase. And then when people type that into their search, all the things that are tagged with that come up. And so if you have, like my sunset that I just did, I put on Instagram and I did like Santa Barbara sunset. watercolor, you know, watercolor painting, sunset colors. You want to, you know, you want to catch people who kind of like sunsets, and who are, especially, like, you can put in Santa Barbara artist. A lot of people want specific Santa Barbara art because this is a pretty well-known city. You can put in California. You just want to tag things that people are interested in. A lot of people get really cutesy with their tags, like, you know, but they're not really. Do you know what I mean? Have you seen that?
Yeah, like hashtag blessed, or like hashtag I don't even know, like pretty floral, or like stuff like that.
Well, even those are better than, like, I'm talking about like something like really off the wall. Like if you have a picture of your dog on the bed and you tag it sleeping in till noon, or, you know, just something that people aren't even really going to search, but they're just trying to be funny or cute.
I see.
Like, stay away from that.
Be serious.
Yeah, keep it professional and keep it. And also with Instagram, you know, people do want to know a little bit about your personal life. They like to make, when you're selling yourself online, you don't have the advantage that you have meeting face to face, like at an art show or at a gallery opening, where you can talk to the person and connect with them and make that personal contact. So you want them to get a feel for who you are as a person and an individual. And you can give little slices of your personal life so they get a taste of who you are, and they can kind of connect with you. Oh, she's got a cute little dog. I love her dog. Oh, I love her garden. Or, you know, they can find a common ground with you. You can even show pictures of your studio or your home. Another thing that they love is seeing your work in progress. So I don't know if you've done this, Chloe, but I would encourage you to take snaps of your work while you're painting on it, because then it gives them something to follow. You post it one day, and then they want to come back and see the progress of your painting the next day.
Ooh, I like that. That's a good suggestion.
Yeah, it gives them a way, it gives them something to follow. Like if you create a little bit of a story and a little drama in your life, it's like watching soaps or something. They kind of can happen next. So you know, you can bring in your family and your personal life, because I know you have 2 different Instagram accounts, right?
I do. I have my personal account linked to my art Insta account, just so like I can have a portfolio kind of building. But you're right, I should incorporate more of like a personalized.
A little bit. Like you want to keep the focus on the art, but it's good now and then for them to see the person, the actual person behind the scenes.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So yeah, then what's that?
I sold some paintings. I had a showing, and it was hard for me to put pricing, but I did anywhere from 175 to 300, and I sold 8 pictures. And now I want to put it on Instagram. I have already someone that wants to buy my elephant one that we'd done in class of animals. So I'm kind of leery of, I don't know what to price it. Pricing is really hard for me. I just don't know how to
pricing pretty well. So hopefully
I don't want to overcharge. And
yeah, why don't you just go off the prices I threw out today, Dolly? I think that's really reasonable.
Okay, and I have people that want me to do pictures that they want and to sell to them.
When
They're
it comes
asking me
to
for that,
yeah, when when it comes to commissions, you guys, you can bump it up a little bit more because there is more pressure on you when you're painting commissions. You know, you're not just painting what you feel like doing, you're painting something for them.
I hate commissions.
I know, it's tricky. I don't do them anymore. I used to do them when I was, you know, first starting out.
I end up painting more than one painting because I'm not sure that I don't have the
But
confidence.
I like to make sure that I put my own matting in frames so that it looks very professional more than just giving them the print alone.
Well, sometimes they have their
I
own.
was also wanting to know, yeah, sometimes I like to make copies of them. What do you call them?
Prints. Prints.
G-clay.
I don't know if States makes print. Yes, extra print.
Yeah, so that's what I wanted to cover next week. I kind of want to wrap this up.
Your picture.
I kind of want to wrap this up, you guys, because it's 5 to 11. But yeah, so for prints, so for commissions, you can charge a little more. You know, maybe you can add on like 10 to 20% on top of your standard, because it is more effort. Oftentimes you have to go to their space, you measure their wall, you know, blah, blah, blah. But for framing, a lot of people, especially if it's a commission, they're going to want to have the frame match their decor. So you're going to have to consult with them whether they want to do the framing or they want you to do it.
Carissa?
Yeah.
It's Patricia, I have one question because I've forgotten. You gave us the name of a framer that you use from Oregon, I think. Could you give me that name again?
So I do my own framing and I order my mats from matshot.com, and they're up in Vancouver, British Columbia. And then I get my frames and plexi from a framer called frankenframes.com. And he's in Kentucky or Tennessee, I forget.
Okay, thank you very much.
Best prices and best selection I've been able to find. Prints is kind of, that's a tricky area right now because I had been going to Sammy's and they closed down. So there's Letitia in town. I don't go to her, but I know a lot of people do. So she's an option. Does anyone remember the name of her business?
Distinctive
printing or something?
Yeah, distinctive.
She's kind of combined with distinctive framing, which used to be.
I think it's Reflections.
Reflections. Okay, so she's kind of located in a framing shop up
on State
across
Street.
from what's it called?
She's close to the Arlington.
Yes, across. Yes, across from Arlington Plaza.
Yeah. Thank you very much for today.
Sure. I get my scans done at Color Services on East Coda. And then I've been doing my prints online at a place called WHC, I think it is, WHC.com. There's a lot of online printing, but I've been doing it online. In terms of selling prints online, I had a pretty good thing going on my Etsy shop. I'm not doing it anymore because I don't want to spend my time packaging prints. I just don't want to do that anymore. But opening an Etsy shop with your prints is a really great, that would be better than trying to sell prints on your website because they get a lot of traffic. Again, people type in searches, and that's how a lot of people have found me with other, like my licensing agent found me on Etsy. This tile guy found me on Etsy. People wanting commissions found me on Etsy. Etsy is great, and it's really cheap. It's super, super, super affordable to open a little shop on Etsy. So that's what I would do if I was trying to sell my prints. There's also Saatchi.com, which I've been on. I've sold a couple things, but I found that, you know, you don't have to do anything with Saatchi because they do all the printing.
Right.
But I definitely made more money with Etsy. And then there's Fine Art America is another printing place. So those are some ideas. I just got asked yesterday to do a 2-hour Zoom workshop for the Goleta Valley Art Association in September. And that will be open to anyone. And I'm going to be going more into detail about selling your art.
Oh, that'd be wonderful.
And it will be really priced, really.
Carissa, it was my idea, so I'm really glad you're doing that.
Oh, okay. Thank you, Meredith. Yeah.
I didn't know what happened of that. So
yeah, she just emailed me yesterday and I told her I'd be happy to do that. So I'll be going more into detail about all this in the workshop. I am passionate about artists making money from their art because, look, we get asked all the time to donate art to different causes. Do they ask the carpet guy to donate carpet? Do they ask the window person to donate windows?
No.
Do they ask like artists are expected to just like
hand out free stuff. Yeah,
hand out free stuff. And no, I mean, here I am telling you to price yourself affordably, but that doesn't mean it's because I want you to get your business going. It's because I want you to break into that flow of exchange where you are making an income from your art. I think it's really important that artists be valued as much as other, you know, we're contributing a lot and they need us and they need to pay for us. So
yes, they do.
yeah, so I feel really passionate about it, and I have been making my living as an artist since 1985, actually even before that. So I've seen it all. I've been through all the phases. It's really changed a lot in the last 10 years, and it's changing more all the time. But I do have a lot of information to share on that. So more details to come, but I just kind of want to give you an overview to get you going with that, Chloe. So
thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
You're welcome. So I hope that helps a little bit.
Yes, it did. It really did. Thank you.
All
I have
right.
one quick question. Does
Sure.
our sunset have to be over the ocean?
No.
No?
No, do
Oh.
whatever you want.
Okay, thank you.
Every time, always do whatever you want.
Okay.
Yeah, and then what are we doing next week? Next week we'll be doing,
Last week.
Oh, okay. So next week we'll be doing we'll do our critique on Monday, and then on Wednesday, you're going to be choosing one of the paintings you've done from this session and create an abstract painting from it.
Oh, cool.
So that will be, you can start thinking about, you know, which one that might.
Is that our last class for this session?
Yeah, for some reason I thought we had,
Well, there's 4th of July.
To the 24th.
June 24th is our last day. So yeah, we have next week.
They're Wednesday.
And then we have Monday, but am I missing a day on here?
Is July 4th a holiday at some point in this?
That's next
Oh,
week.
that's what it is. No, that wouldn't be it.
Oh, that's the next
I think
No,
next
we
week's
don't.
last week. Yeah.
29. I don't know. I got to look at the calendar. I don't know what happened, but we'll review it next week. All you need to know is that next Monday we'll be doing our critique, and then Wednesday we'll be doing an abstract, and then
Let's see what happens next.
yeah, I'll figure it out. Okay, you guys. Well, good to see you all. And thanks for coming today. And
thank you, Carissa.
Thank you,
yeah,
Carissa.
thank you so much for all your beautiful painting and your beautiful energy. And
I just sold my painting, everybody.
You sold it?
400.
Congratulations, Adele. Yay, wonderful. Good.
Joy.
Happy for you.
So she can make $100 payments a month or whatever, so I'm fine with that.
Good.
Thank you.
Get that flow going, you know, get that exchange going. You have to like,
yeah.
Thank you, Carissa.
All right, thanks all. See you on Monday. Have a good rest of your week.
Bye. Hi, Karen.
Bye. Bye-bye.
Bye.
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 Bye.